Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to pass the floor to Jan Trojak, who will kick off this block with so far largest PPP project implemented. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me. Thank you. And I wish you a nice afternoon. Please, could you show on the screen the first presentation of the third block, please? So, before we see this presentation on the screen, I would like to explain that as a CSOB, we have a chance, an opportunity to work on a number of PPP projects. We also collaborate with people who are present in the panel. I would like to describe the situation in the Czech Republic. It was presented here that the Czech Republic did the project D4 project has been through the qualification stage, but we have also a number of projects, PPP projects at a regional level. I will present one of them. This is the base for parking and repairs of city transport buses and trolleybuses in Pilsen. This is a project which is procured by the statutory city of Pilsen and the Pilsen City Transport Company. What you see here on the pictures are photographs after project completion. The project was implemented between 2013 and 2015, so it is now in successful operation for over 3 years. What is worth mentioning is that this very well illustrates how this contracting authority, which originally was the operator, someone who took care of buses, trolleybuses, repair parts, etc., how it assumed the role of a customer. And the concession holder, based on a long-term concession contract provides these services. And I dare to say that nobody from the contracting authority would like the past situation to return back, because now they can focus on the operation of the buses, on whether the buses are clean, and if they are not clean, they simply charge sanctions. I would like to say a few words about the project. For us, as the bank, when we started working on this project, the basic logics of the project was very important, because this project, before this project was implemented, these services were provided by the Pilsen Transport Company to itself, because they are also the owner of the transport facility, so they had to take care of all these activities. So there was a change in the mindset required. They had to transfer activities that they operated themselves. They had to pass it on to someone else and not to have them, so to speak, under control. I think that from today's perspective, they actually see that they have these services under much better control, because they are independent of the provider of the services, and they can be stricter in requiring compliance. So this project had to be meaningful for the contracting authority. That meant also it had to be meaningful from the economic perspective. It included consolidation of 4 sites into one large site, as you can see here on the photograph. This is the entire site captured on the upper photograph. You can see workshops, washing lines, petrol station, parking areas. The front part also includes some facilities for the drivers, warehouses, archives, etc. So one thing was the economic side of the project and long-term savings that can be achieved. There was a study prepared focusing on this side, and there was also process change involved. It changed the nature of the business performed by the city transport in Pilsen. They became only operator of transport, not operator of a maintenance shop or repair shop. We collaborated, as far as the supplier is concerned, we collaborated with Škoda. This site is a brownfield. It was originally owned by a Škoda company. Škoda Transportation was the original investor. This is a company producing real vehicles, and they also provide full service for the Prague City's transport for their metro division. So it is a company, a supplier that is highly experienced, that has good setup of processes and people, and we saw that also during project implementation. From our perspective, as we looked at the credit risk, the contracting authority, the city of Pilsen, is a high creditworthiness customer. In fact, it consists of two entities. And also the allocation of the implementation risk was quite good, because we had the contractor was an experienced investor who had also good capital backing. What was also important was that the entire structure of the project complied with basic principles of project financing. This is the contractual framework. We have a standard concession contract that is based on international standards. The contracting authority is the city of Pilsen and city transport company. The supplier is Škoda Consortium, and there are two implementation phases defined. One of them is the investment phase. During that phase, the new base was developed, constructed, and the existing one abandoned. And there was also operational stage. The new concession holder had to take over the existing operational facilities and provide the services using these facilities. The length of the project is 29 years, and the investment phase took approximately 3 years. There are two financial flows involved. One is relating to the infrastructure. There are payments that come and are related to the value of the infrastructure assets, and then there are operational financial flows that reflects the operational requirements of this type of business. Here is a diagram that might seem complicated, but here we see the consortium. What is important that there were a number of qualified entities within this consortium, and we had to select two of them, which are single-purpose vehicles, and which became responsible for this project based on the social contract. We defined their roles, and through the concession contract, there is a link to the transport city Pilsen city transport. We have also contracts with the bank, financing that was allocated exclusively to these two single-purpose vehicles, and this is not recourse financing that was provided. During the implementation phase, we developed this site that you see on the picture. The total size of the area is 116,000 square meters. Of this built-up area is 44,000 square meters. As I mentioned, there is an indoor testing range also in this facility, where we can test platforms or brakes of the buses. As I mentioned, the testing race is indoors, so the buses can be tested also during the winter season. The capacity of this site is approximately 350 cars, and there is a 30% spare capacity that will be available to cover the growing needs of public transport in Pilsen in the future. The key suppliers were Metrostav and Světelský, key contractors, and the overall capex expenditures was 1.6 billion Czech crowns. It is co-funded from European funds by 400 million Czech crowns. This is the operational phase. This supplier contractor is evaluated based on availability criteria, and the payments are made based on the number of kilometers traveled, and they are linked also to repair plans of the individual cars. So it is quite easy, highly predictable, but there are also some sanctions for late, not complying with these schedules, and we know that during the project operation we achieved savings of approximately 10%. As far as financing is concerned, during the investment phase, the contractor provided some own resources by consisting of registered capital, subordinate loan, and there is also the subsidy that I mentioned, and then on the other side we have payments for infrastructure that are related to the facilities that are developed, and operational payments that are based on the number of kilometers traveled. This is the structure of financing. Here you can again see the consortium, these two SPVs. We have also, you can see also subsidy or grant from EU funds. We have parallel loan structure for each of these companies, loan A, loan B. They are co-debtors, co-creditors. So you can see the structure here, and we had a competition between in which three banks took part. We won in this procurement procedure, and it is quite interesting to mention that the decision about financing was made later, because the procurement procedure was divided into two phases. One of them was technical. During this technical phase, we focus on detailing the technical solutions, and individual bidders provided proposals for technical solution design. After this part, we decided, or we focused on the actual financing. Here are the parameters of this senior financing. This is a non-recourse financing. We are the sole debtor that provided slightly over 900 million crowns denominated. That means the loan is denominated in Czech crowns. Its maturity is 23 years. It is secured mainly by receivables from concession contracts. And there is a structure defined according to which, after the expiry of the concession contract, the city transport company takes over the assets, and our main security are receivables from concession contracts.
Důležitý, a co byl docela problém na začátku, bylo vyjednání přímé smlouvy, protože přece jenom jak je tam struktura zadavatel, dodavatel a banka až jako na konci, a s ohledem na to, že zajištění primární jsou právě pohledávky.
The issue at the beginning was a direct contract or award with, a direct agreement with the contracting body. We had to resolve what would happen in the case of a precocious termination of the concession contract. The contracting body did not understand at the beginning why this was so important, but eventually we were able to explain what aspects are involved and how this might impact the bank's business. We managed to explain all this, and eventually they understood that it was necessary to have a direct agreement with the funding entity. Today, the project has been in operation for some 3 years. There are numerous visitors coming to see the project. It has been successful. It survived political changes at the city hall, and we have been monitoring the project on an ongoing basis. There are conventional procedures like payment certification just all these related to European funding. Today, we are monitoring the project on the basis of semi-annual and annual reports. The project has stabilized. The structure of the project has stabilized. We are those that contributed most of the funding, so there are still certain things that can be only modified or changed with the consent of the bank. However, the structure has proven quite functional, so no major changes have ever been needed. And if any changes were needed, we were always able to discuss and negotiate them quite easily. The management seemed to be quite forthcoming. So that's all on my part, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I should perhaps mention that or emphasize that this shows that the national level is not the only one where interesting PPP projects can be implemented. This is, in fact, an infrastructure project too. And the mere fact that it has been implemented is a proof of the courage on the part of the City Hall. So we hope to see the same level of courage also on the national level. Thank you. Jan, thank you very much. We will move on to the next presentation, and then we can resume a general discussion. What is interesting that this project, even though it has been operating for several years, it has not been replicated yet. My guess is that this losing of control of part of the activities on the public level is a difficult change in mindset. It's normal abroad, but it has not been normal in this country.